Susan, Rogerio, and their awesome family serve with Athletes in Action alongside with us in Brazil. Susan and Rogerio were in Rio for the second half of the Olympics.
We went right away from the airport to our little posada hotel that we were staying. We were staying right down the road from the villa, actually, where the athletes all live, but the villa is very enclosed. So we walked down the street, then past the villa, see lots of athletes, and 2 bus stations down was the Centro Olímpico, this big center of the Olympics, with all the 8 of the stadiums, the swimming, the handball, the basketball, and that was the highlight. You get on the train, the bus, it's packed, everyone's going. You walk this big, lot of people were going in, and to get into the center of the big Olympic area, you had to have a ticket. So this is our ticket. We got to go see basketball. We walked around. There's the big store, the Olympic store, and a lot of eating places, and people are taking pictures of the big Olympic symbols, and people are buying. These are the main kind of Olympic shirts that everyone was buying. These were the little guys that everyone was buying. This guy is Tom, and then we also, the main mascot actually for the Olympics is Vinicius. And he is a mixture of all the animals in Brazil. And Tom, he's for the Paralympics, and he's a mixture of all the plants that are Brazilian plants. And so it was an awesome experience to be at my first Olympics. We didn't go to any more actual events, but we did some of the Brazilian sightseeing. We went to see, I got to see the Christ the Redeemer, went to see the Sugarloaf. We passed where the big lake was, where they had all the rowing, and it's just a beautiful lake. And the taxi driver told me, he said yes, he said years ago it was totally, it was all the sewage from all the big apartments around it. But for the last years they've been cleaning it up, and it looks beautiful. I'm not sure about the water, but the water is definitely cleaner than it was before. But Rio is absolutely beautiful. So the real reason we were there is because of Athletes in Action. And Athletes in Action is a sports ministry that works with athletes. And so Athletes in Action has 2 main areas that they work in. One area is chaplaincy, working with high-level athletes, colleges, professional. And then another area is church sports ministries. My husband and I, we work more with church sports ministries. So at all major sporting events, Athletes in Action has a presence. And we were there at an AIA Road to Rio project with Athletes in Action. There was 30 countries there, over 100 people from all over countries, from Athletes in Action or sports ministries, FCA or other sports ministries around the world, there to work with athletes. In one day, I met a guy from Egypt. He was there. He works in church sports ministry. He works with athletes. A girl from Poland, Romania. I visited with a girl from China. Kenya. There was a guy from Tog. There was few athletes. There was a few athletes from Tog, and he had visited with 4 of them, and 3 of them had became Christians and learned more about Jesus. So these people were there to serve athletes, and Athletes in Action had 4 chaplains, official chaplains that could actually have passes to go into the villa where the athletes are. These chaplains, they're just serving athletes. They're praying with them, they're reading the Bible with them, doing a Bible study. Athletes are under a huge amount of pressure. And they either struggle or they triumph. And so in either situation, they need support and need help. So this is why we were there. So we had Bible studies and prayer meetings in the mornings, and then they were with athletes during the day or any time of the day. So we were mainly there serving in those purposes. People would go to the beach, people would share, and one of the most exciting things that Athletes in Action did was they made this DVD, and so this was our main evangelistic tool. So we handed it out to athletes, handed out to people, and encouraged them to listen to the testimonies of these 4 athletes about their struggle and triumph. Even on the streets, you would meet athletes. We met a boy, actually, who was a young man from the men's water polo team, and he was there with his sister and his family. And we met the mom and dad of Lucy, who won the equestrian event for the USA. So you would be going places and you would see, and a lot of athletes in Action also made Bibles, the Struggle and Trumpet Bible, which is the normal Bible, but it has lots of different Bible studies for athletes and testimonies of Maya Moore, different athletes that are Christians that were in the Olympics. Rio was so organized for the Olympics. I have never been to another Olympics, but they had so many volunteers that had been trained to help. And if you were like looking around and you didn't quite know where you were going, they would immediately come and help you. People are helping us all the time. Lots of signs, new subway system that we use, very nice. The buses were all nice, and you could get places Rio is very big and spread out, but everything was really working out. They had a lot of police, military out person, so you felt very safe. They were in key places. My personal highlight was just being there in the atmosphere. I had that opportunity because the World Cup was here in Brazil too. I had an opportunity of going to a World Cup game, and it was just very exciting. In the Olympics, it was even more exciting. When I was a young girl in high school, that was my goal, to play in the Olympics. And I played in a junior national team that we went to Taiwan and we won the gold medal. And it was a junior national team. After that, I kind of did other things, and God took my dream and made it something else. But I actually played with girls that were in the Olympics. So being there was a great opportunity, and it's not a goal that can't be that is unreachable. And even my children, sometimes my son laughed. He said, "I want to play in the Olympics." I said, "Well, Timothy, that's great. Go for it. I mean, it's not unreachable. You could do that some days." And athletes are real people, struggles, and they have great triumphs, but they need God, because the gold medal does not fill the hole in their heart that they have. That hole is only filled with Jesus. And you look at some of the stories that came out of the Olympics. He has a hole in his heart because he needs Jesus, because he ended up lying. He got in a big trouble because we know that the money, the gold medal, is not going to fill their heart. So when sometimes they reach that pedestal, it doesn't fill their heart, and then they're a little bit lost. So we're there to encourage them in other areas. What Athletes in Action is doing now is they're not only working with these high-level athletes, but they want to work with athletes all over, in every city, in every neighborhood, through churches. And that's what we're excited about, my husband and I, is church sports ministry. Your church can start a little basketball practices, or start soccer practices, or have karate, and invite the neighborhood kids. They can come, you can help them, you can have little Bible studies, you can encourage them to know Jesus, and you can change your neighborhood by being involved with the kids around young teenagers, young adults, because sports is a language that everyone speaks. September 6th, Rogério and Athletes in Action, over 50 of actually Athletes in Action Brazil, will be going to work in Rio at the Paralympics. The Paralympics, I've never been. I've only seen, and Daniel Diaz, he's in our video, and if you get to watch this video, he's a swimmer, and his story is absolutely amazing. And I cry every time I listen to his story, but they're athletes with some kind of a disability, all different things. They compete in many different of the sport events that they have, the athletes. They use all the same, they use the fields, they use the stadiums for the Paralympics. And people from all countries send, if they have teams, they send their athletes. They'll stay in the big villa for the athletes. My husband, Rogério, he actually signed up beforehand, and he will actually be a volunteer. And he had to do work for the last year. He had to answer questions. He had to go to Recife and be interviewed. He had to do many steps to be a volunteer. People from all over the world come to be volunteers, and they were there at the Olympics. Many volunteers. People gave hours. They're not paid. They actually have to have their own housing. And Rogério, he will have next week. They get one meal, and they do get an outfit. They had they had shirt, jacket, pants, and shoes. And they are volunteers, and all the different volunteers are put in different areas in the Olympics. And Rogério, I believe he's going to work with the families of the athletes. He'll work during the day. I think it's a 6 to 8 hour shift, and then the other hours he'll be involved with our project. And so we're really excited to see the Paralympics. We heard that the Olympics is great, but the Olympics is it's very official and everything is pretty closed off. But the Paralympics, everyone is very it's not so stressful and so much pressure. So everyone's talking and it's fun and it's these amazing athletes who have overcome a lot to be there. So it's going to be an exciting time.